1. 9. 15-19, 24. 11. 27. Compare EC2. 3-6, 9. The temple, his outstanding construction work, with its associated courtyards, was built on Mount Moriah on the eastern ridge, but end of the city of David, evidently in the area of the present-day Dome of the Rock. 2ch3. 1. 1 Chi 6. 37, 38. 7. 12 other major buildings nearby were Solomon's own house or palace, the cedarwood house of the Forest of Lebanon, the Porch of Pillars, and the judicial porch of the throne. 1 Chi 7. 1-8 This building complex was apparently situated east of the temple on the gradual slope running down toward the city of David. Map, Volume 1, p. 752. Picture, Volume 1, p. 748. Divided Kingdom 997-607 BCE. Jeroboam's rebellion split the nation into two kingdoms, and Jerusalem was left as the capital of two tribes, Benjamin and Judah, under Solomon's son Rehoboam. Levites and priests also moved to the city where Jehovah's name rested, thereby strengthening Rehoboam's kingship. 2ch11. 1-17 Jerusalem was now no longer at the geographic center of the kingdom, being only a few miles from the border of the hostile northern 10-tribe kingdom. Within 5 years of Solomon's death, the city experienced the first of a number of invasions. King Otextoi acute Muritra Longo, Jerusalem 43 a second time by an Arab Philistine combine, this despite the strong defense walls. 2ch21. 12-17 In the next century the deflection from the righteous course by King Jehoash resulted in Syrian forces beginning to invade Judah and Jerusalem, the context implying that they were successful in entering the city. 2ch24. 20-25 During Amaziah's apostasy the northern kingdom of Israel invaded Judah, and broke down about 178 meters 584 feet of the vital northern wall between the corner gate in the NW corner and the Ephraim gate to the E of the corner gate. 2ch25. 22-24 It is possible that, at some point prior to this, the city had expanded across the central valley onto the western ridge. King Uzziah 829-778 BCE made notable additions to the city's defenses, fortifying the NW corner gate and the valley gate at this corner with towers, as well as a tower at the buttress the angle, RS, JB. The turning, JP, apparently some part of the eastern wall not far from the royal buildings, either those of David or of Solomon. 2ch26. 9. Eni 3. 24, 25 Uzziah also equipped the towers and corners with engines of war, perhaps mechanical catapults for shooting arrows and large stones. 2ch26. 14, 15 His son Jotham continued the building program. 2ch27. 3, 4. Faithful King Hezekiah, ruling after his father, the apostate Ahaz, did cleansing and repair work in the temple area and arranged a great Passover celebration that drew worshippers to Jerusalem from all over the land, the northern kingdom included. 2ch29. 1-5, 18, 19. 30. 1, 10-26 This stimulus for true worship, however, was soon followed by attack from pagan quarters, mockers of the true God whose name rested on Jerusalem. In 732 BCE 8 years after Assyria's conquest of the northern kingdom of Israel, Assyrian king Sennacherib made a Scythia-like sweep through Palestine, diverting some troops to threaten Jerusalem. 2ch32. 1, 9 Hezekiah had readied the city for a siege. He stopped up the water sources outside the city to hide them and make things difficult for the enemy, strengthened the walls, and fortified them. 2ch32. 2-5, 27-30 It would seem that the conduit for bringing water into the city from the spring of Gihon was already constructed at this time, possibly being a peacetime project. 2 Chi 20. 20. 2ch32. 30th, as believed, it was the conduit that includes the tunnel cut through the side of the Kidron Valley with its termination at the pool of Siloam in the Doropian Valley, then it was no minor project to be completed in a few days. See Archaeology Palestine and Syria. Gihon no. 2. At any rate, the city's strength lay not in its defensive systems and supplies, but in the protective power of Jehovah God, who said, "And I shall certainly defend this city to save it for my own sake, and for the sake of David my servant." 2 Kai 19. 32-34 The miraculous destruction of 185,000 Assyrian troops sent Sennacherib scurrying back to Assyria. 2 Kai 19. 35-36 When the campaign account was recorded in the Assyrian annals, it boasted of Sennacherib's shutting Hezekiah up inside Jerusalem like a bird in a cage, but it made no claim of capturing the city. See Sennacherib. The reign of Manasseh 716-662 BCE brought further wall construction along the Kidron Valley. It also saw the nation drift farther from true worship. 2 Ch 33. 1-9-14 His grandson Josiah temporarily reversed this decline, and during his rule the valley of Hinnom, used by idolatrous persons for vile ceremonies, was made unfit for worship, likely desecrated by being made into a city garbage dump. 2 Kai 23. 10. 2 Ch 33. 6 The gate of the ash heaps apparently opened out onto this valley. Eni 3. 13, 14. See Gehenna. Hinnom, Valley of. During Josiah's time the second quarter the new town, JB of the city receives initial mention. 2 Kai 22. 14. 2 Ch 34. 22 This second quarter is generally understood to be the section of the city O Textoi Acute Miritra Longo, Jerusalem 44 Desolation and Restoration. The city walls were breached on Tammuz 9, 607 BCE. A month later, on Ab 10, Nebuchadnezzar's agent, Nebuzaradan, entered the conquered city and began demolition work, burning the temple and other buildings and proceeding to pull down the city walls. Jerusalem's king and most of her people were exiled to Babylon and her treasures were carried away as plunder. 2 Kai 25. 7-17. 2 Ch 36. 17-20. J 52. 12-20. Picture, Volume 2, p. 326. The statement by archaeologist Konda that the history of the ruined city remains a blank until Cyrus is true not only of Jerusalem, but also of the entire realm of the kingdom of Judah. Unlike the Assyrians, the Babylonian king moved no replacement peoples into the conquered region. A period of 70 years of desolation set in, even as prophesied. J 25. 11. 2 Ch 36. 21. In the first year evidently as ruler over Babylon of Cyrus the Persian 538 BCE the royal decree went forth freeing the exiled Jews to go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and rebuild the house of Jehovah the God of Israel. As 1. 1-4 The people who made the long trip to Jerusalem, carrying temple treasures with them, included 42,360 Israelites, besides slaves and professional singers. They arrived in time to celebrate the Festival of Booths in Tishri September-October 537 BCE as 2. 64, 65. 3. 1-4 Temple rebuilding got underway under Governor Zerubbabel's direction and, after serious interference and the infiltration of some apathy among the returned Jews, was finally completed by March of 515 BCE. More exiles returned with priest scribe Ezra in 468 BCE bringing additional things to beautify the house of Jehovah, which is in Jerusalem as 7. 27, this by authorization of King Artaxerxes Longimanus. The treasures brought by them were evidently worth more than $43,000-000. Ezra 8. 25-27. About a century and a half after Nebuchadnezzar's conquest, the walls and gates of the city were still broken down. Nehemiah obtained permission from Artaxerxes to go to Jerusalem and remedy this situation. Ne 2. 1-8 The account that follows of Nehemiah's nighttime survey and of his apportioning the construction work to different family groups is a major source of information about the layout of the city at that time, especially of its gates. Ne 2. 11-15. 3. 1-32. Seagate, Gateway. This rebuilding was in fulfillment of Daniel's prophecy and established the year that marked the start of the 70 prophetic weeks involving the coming of the Messiah. Dar 9. 24-27 Despite harassment, in the short space of 52 days, in the year 455 BCE they ringed Jerusalem with a wall and gates. Ne 4. 1-23. 6. 15. 7. 1. C. 70 weeks the going forth of the word. Jerusalem was now wide and great, but there were few people inside it. Ne 7. 4. Following the public reading of scriptures and celebrations in the public square that was before the water gate on the east side of the city. Ne 3. 26. 8. 1-18, arrangements were made to build up the city's population by bringing in one Israelite out of every 10 to dwell there. This was done by casting lots, but additionally there were evidently volunteers. Ne 11. 1. 2. A spiritual cleansing work was done to put the city's population on a sound foundation as regards true worship. Ne 12. 47. 13. 3. Nehemiah's governorship lasted 12 years or more and embraced a trip to the Persian king's court. Upon his return to Jerusalem, he found need for further cleansing. Ne 13. 4-31 With the vigorous rooting out of apostasy he effected, the record of the Hebrew scriptures closes, sometime after the year 443 BCE Hellenic and Maccabean control. The changeover from Medo-Persian to Greek control came in 332 BCE when Alexander the Great marched through Judah. The Greek historians make no mention of Alexander's entry into Jerusalem. Yet the city did come under Greek dominion, and it is reasonable o textoi acute miritra longo. Jerusalem 45 rededicated Jehovah's altar to true worship on the anniversary of its profanation. Chislev 25, 165 BCE 1 Maccabees 4. 52-54. 2 Maccabees 10. 5. Compare Joe 10. 22. The war against the Seleucid rulers had not ended. The Jews appealed